Hello everyone, welcome to Dr. Rajkumar's Learning app. So today we are going to discuss about Armed Forces Special Powers Act 1958. So let us start the discussion. So what is the Armed Forces Special Powers Act 1958? So this is an act of parliament which granted special powers to Indian armed forces to maintain public order or the law and order in certain disturbed areas. So what is the disturbed areas? So these disturbed areas are the areas which are declared by governor or the central government where the law and order has been disturbed. Now who declares these areas as an disturbed areas? The governor of the state or the administrator of the union territory or the central government has the power to declare the area or the some part of area or the whole state as the disturbed area. But now what is the problem with this disturbed area? Once the area is declared as undisturbed, we have to maintain that status quo for 3 months. We cannot change that status from disturbed area to the normal area. So for the next 3 months, the area will be remain as a disturbed area. So when was this ASPA came into existence? If we go back to the history, we can remember about the Quit India movement. So the British government brought this a special act through the ordinance to control the situation during Quit India movement. So obviously it has an colonial legacy. But after independence, immediately there were certain insurgency activities going on in the northeastern states. So these are the northeastern states where the insurgency it was taking place immediately after the independence for the demand of the separate states or the separate nation. So Indian government decided to continue the law in view of insurgency in Assam and Manipur. So this act it was implemented in the Assam and Manipur to control the insurgency. Now this ASPA Act was initially imposed in the insurgency affected hilly areas of the Assam. Now these hilly areas were declared as the disturbed area, so it was necessary to maintain the law and order in these areas or the hilly areas. So this act was imposed in this area. Later on, all the seven states in the northeastern India were brought under this act. So as to maintain the law and order in the area. So what was actually the problem in this northeastern states? Immediately after the partition, the northeastern states they were separated from the Indian mainland, and the problem here was now of the development. Now there was lack of infrastructure in these areas. No government facilities were being provided at a large scale. The people were facing the hardships because the connectivity which was passing through Bangladesh got separated from India, and so the northeastern states remained isolated from the mainland. Now with the limited resources, India was not able to focus on the northeastern states. With the limited resources with India, Indian government was not able to focus on the northeastern states. So again there was the backwardness in the region and the insurgency was growing. Later on in the Punjab as well as in Jammu Kashmir, this act was imposed to control the activities like Khalistan movement in Punjab, then terrorist movement in Jammu and Kashmir. So in 2008, Punjab became the first state to withdraw the ASPA movement. So what is the situation right now where this law is applicable? So right now in the states of Nagaland, Assam and the UT of Jammu and Kashmir is under ASPA Act. Now here the whole area of these states and the UTs is under the Act. But if we come to the Manipur, the Impal municipal area is not covered in the Manipur And even in some parts of Arunachal Pradesh, the act is not applicable. Only in few parts, the act is applicable in Arunachal Pradesh. So what are the powers the armed forces get under the act? First of all, they can use force or open fire on the suspicion after giving a warning. So the armed forces here getting the whole power to use force or fire upon anyone if they have a slightest of the suspicion towards the people. Now, the one more important power that armed forces are getting here is that they can search or arrest any person, or they can search any premises without a warrant. So these armed forces, they don't need any warrant to arrest or search any premises in the state or the area. Now, in these areas, a person cannot possess any of the firearms. So the possession of the arms or the firearms is prohibited in these areas. Now lastly, there is a restrictions for the gathering of the people. More than 5 people cannot gather at a place. So it's the prohibition upon the people for the gathering in the areas where the act is applicable. Coming to the pros and cons of the act. So why actually these acts are needed? So what is the importance of the act? So first of all, the act is needed to protect the border areas. The border areas in the northeastern states, it is along the Myanmar as well as China and the Bangladesh. So to protect these bordering areas, to stop the illegal activities across the bordering areas, the armed forces need certain special powers. So to maintain or protect the bordering areas, certain special powers are given to the armed forces through this act. Now secondly, countering insurgency in the northeastern states was one of the important objective of this act. Many of the insurgents activities were going on since independence for the demand of the separate state or the homeland. So to counter these activities, this act was very much important to maintain the law and order, to maintain the unity and integrity of the country. Now thirdly, to maintain the law and order, it is very necessary for the armed forces to have some special powers. Now there were many such incidences in the northeastern state. For example, after the Bangladesh war or the 1971 war, many of the illegal immigrants, they came in northeastern states. So there was a law and order situation during that period. So again, to maintain the law and order situation, these forces were powers through this act. Again, the act was needed to give the powers to the armed forces to carry out their own activities. Now this act was very helpful for the armed forces to carry out their activities efficiently. It also boosted their morale. These forces were constantly facing the threat to their lives at the hands of insurgents and militants. So the act was very much necessary to give special powers to the armed forces so that they can carry out their activities efficiently. Now what are the cons of the? Firstly, the act violates the human rights. There has been allegation on the armed forces about the fake encounters, about the sexual assault, about the extrajudicial killing. So the human rights were violated by using this act. Secondly, it's a colonial era law. This law was used by the Britishers to suppress the voice of the people during the Quit India movement. So again, it has a colonial legacy. Thirdly, it affects the rights of the people given by the Constitution of India. So according to Article 19, citizens have the right to assembly. Now this act violates this right of the citizens. 5 or more than 5 people cannot assemble together or cannot gather together. So this affects the Article 19 of Indian Constitution. Now the second right which the act violates is Article 21. Article 21 provides every citizen right to life. So again this article has been violated because of the act again violates article number 22, that is right given to every citizen regarding protection of life and personal liberty, because the act provides the armed forces special power for the arrest and search of the premises. Now fourthly, it diminishes the credibility of the democracy. People start losing faith in democratic setup because this act has been used to terrorize the people in certain areas. So again people start using violence against the government. So there is a vicious cycle of the violence. Fifthly, the act has been called as ineffective because it has failed to curb the insurgency, to bring normalcy in the disturbed area from last 50 years. So why this Armed Forces Special Power Act was in news recently? Now Nagaland cabinet has recommended that this act should be repealed from the state after the incidents of Mon district, in which security forces have killed nearly 13 civilians during the Hornbill festival. So the state cabinet of Nagaland has demanding to suspend or the remove this act from the state. So what is the stand of Supreme Court regarding to the act? A case was filed by Naga People's Movement of Human Rights in 1997 against the act or the Union of India. So in that case, the petitioners as well as the National Human Rights Commission has urged Parliament that it cannot legislate on the domains of the state, that is law and order. As law and order is state's domain, it cannot legislate or encroach upon the state's power. The act was also challenged on the ground that the law or the act provided arbitrary and gave vast powers to the armed forces which were misused against the citizens or the people of the state. But a 5-judge constitutional bench of the Supreme Court, it has upheld the law. So the Supreme Court said that the law is necessary for the maintenance of the law and order and the unity and sovereignty of the country. But Supreme Court has also said that Constitution did not provide for deployment of armed forces in aid of civil power. So Supreme Court has said here that it should be used, the act should be used for a temporary period until the normalcy has been restored. So again, the Supreme Court has also said that whenever the governor or the administrator of UT or the central government is declaring an area as a disturbed area, the opinion of the state government has to be taken, and there must also be a periodic review of the situation to keep that area as a disturbed area or to remove the tag of the disturbed area. The Supreme Court has also said that whenever an encounter has been done by the armed forces under the act, it should be inquired or a thorough inquiry has to be taken place of the encounter. So what does Supreme Court here tries to say that, or what is Supreme Court trying to explain? that whether the victim is a common person or a militant, and whether the aggressor is a common person or the state, the law is applicable equally to both of them. So it does not differentiate between the victim or the aggressor. So the act will be equally applicable to both of. So why this is important? It is very much important to maintain the democracy, to preserve the law and order, as well as to preserve the rights, the liberties, the freedom given by the Constitution of India to the citizens. So what actually is needed here to be done? First thing we have to do is the respect the human rights or the uphold the rights of the people. Now, adherence to human rights will actually strengthen the counter-insurgency capability of the forces. Secondly, the armed forces should be accountable and responsible for their acts and activities. Now, the act has various ambiguities. There are various terms which need to be clearly defined in the law. For example, what do you mean by disturb, or what exactly is dangerous and land forces? So these terms should be clearly defined in the act. Also, the government needs to be transparent here. So it is necessary that government should communicate what is the status of the existing cases. Lastly, there should be an independent inquiry for the atrocities or the deaths or the human rights violation or the encounters caused by the armed forces in the disturbed area. So this inquiry should be done by an independent inquiry committee without any biasness. So these are certain suggestions which we have to implement regarding to the act. So thank you for joining us.